We're recording. It's recording in progress.
This is it. This
What's
is it.
happening?
Hold on. Say something?
Hello.
Okay, never mind. I'm sorry. I thought I heard an echo. I'm still
I thought I
getting
heard God in my microphones.
I'm still kind of getting used to this. So um well what's new in your world? What's on your docket?
Well, I was gonna go to story time at the library today with my kid, but instead we're gonna go euthanize my dog. So
I
that got dark real quick.
was gonna say that escalated real quick.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah, he
on.
won't. He's not walking or eating, and it's just.
So when you say youth, that means you're gonna it's like you're it's
Yeah, my wife. Well,
oh, that sucks.
yeah, it's her dog. I mean, she's had the dog for like 14 years. I've known him for about two. Um, but yeah,
That sucks. I
we have a
can't imagine.
difference of opinions on how this should go down. So I'm just letting her make the calls.
That's probably smart. That's
Yeah.
probably smart.
I'm trying
I
to really watch. I'm trying to watch what I say because there was a huge argument about how I deal with death the other night,
That's
very
fair.
sarcastically and dark. So,
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's one of those things that if you're not on the if that's not how you deal with death, because I mean I don't know if that's how I don't know if that's how I deal with death, but I don't find any offense or I don't see anything sort of wrong with dealing with that. But someone who doesn't deal with death that way and who doesn't agree with I can see how that could clash.
yeah, it had a moment. It had a moment where I was
Fair
like,
enough.
God, I'm an asshole.
Fair enough. Well, just put it out there.
Yeah, and then something else happened. What else happened this week? Forget what it was. It's probably really important, but what about you? What are you doing? What's going on in your life?
No, man, not a terrible amount. I mean, I was as far as the topic goes, I was or as far as the show goes, I think everyone should know that we or I chose to talk about guns and gun stuff for the last show, and then I just
Froze. No, you froze. That's what happened. We're gonna talk
realized
about it.
that it was might be a little bit too it might be a little bit too yeah, intense, at least for me. I mean, I whether it's right or wrong, I get sort of worked up about
Well, wait. He gets worked up, people, about
uh, I get worked up about being about freezing.
yeah, there it is. I'm like trying to complete your sentences for you when you stop. I'm like, well,
Yeah, that's if that happens more than once or twice, I mean, whatever. Anyway, I some of these things, whether it's right or wrong, I can get worked up about it, and I just kind of realized that maybe this is one of those things that I might not want to debate just as of yet, as far as guns go, as far as all that goes. So I kind of switched it up and figured today would be a good day to talk about law enforcement. I don't know. I don't know why that one was uh, that was where it went, but it is. And I think it's also fitting, whether you know it or not, or you follow it or not. Today is this evening will be the first televised congressional hearings for the people for the January 6th commission. So the people that are investigating the riots and the things that happened on January 6th have their first televised hearing tonight, which I'm super super stoked about. That's something that I'm super interested in. So anyway, what happened on that day and talking about law enforcement today, it all maybe kind of worked itself out. So
Hmm.
um, anyway, so I'm super excited for that this evening. I'm not sure a lot of people find it pretty boring, but anyway, I don't know if Dylan will be joining us today.
Yeah, he's being detained by the
Ah,
sheriff.
God, who knows? Good. Who knows? Um, but anyway, I don't know. Do you want to start us off with your experience
But
and
my
your
my experience, my opinion on law
because
enforcement.
knowing you as well as I do, I'm hoping that you're going to start it out in a certain in a
Hold on,
certain
wait.
arena.
Let me get the picture with my gun cabinet in the back.
Oh, is
Yes.
that no nice? Very cool. I didn't notice that.
um, but seriously, law enforcement, my opinion on law enforcement has completely changed since I got sober. So, is he alive?
There
Yep.
you go. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I was like, wait.
You were
Ah.
frozen. I saw the gun closet.
But no, law enforcement, like I said, it's completely changed since I got sober. So,
Well, that's a good way to preface it. I think that that's a good an
yeah.
interesting way to start it out. And like I said, just in terms of law, I think talking about our experiences with law enforcement, right? So you just I can tell you what I think my first experience with law enforcement was, and it might be the same experience that you had. So anyway, go ahead with
Wait, no, which one was yours? Was it when I got
well,
arrested?
yeah. Well, I would say that's where when I started thinking about my experiences with law enforcement and my whether that means being arrested or what when I think about what it goes back to, that's my first memory
Yeah.
of law enforcement or being involved in some law enforcement was you being arrested at what, 12 or 13 years old.
12, yeah.
Yeah, you have to tell that story though.
So yeah, me and a young man by the name of Nolan were at the local, or at the what would you call that pool? Community
Just
pool?
neighborhood pool.
Neighborhood
Neighborhood
pool. There
pool.
you go. Yeah, we were at the
For
neighborhood.
anyone listening, for anyone, we're talking about Bradshaw Farms. To start the show off with some white privilege.
Yeah,
That's the neighborhood that
my
Brian and I
privileged thing
grew
you
up in.
could say.
So
White.
that's what he's talking about. Anyway, go ahead.
And what was okay? So yeah, we were up there and we were making plans to come back later that evening and converse with some young ladies, possibly smoke the ganja, you know, roll one up, and I guess one of the soccer moms. I guess she was a soccer mom. I'm assuming she was a soccer mom because she called the police on us.
I think that's a fair assumption.
Because we were talking about it. And then we went back up there later that evening and it was like this whole sting operation and we were smoking and then there was police and me and him. I guess we walked off because we caught wind of it and they caught us on the golf course like a mile away.
That's
And
how I remember it. Yeah.
yeah, it was about a mile away and like the fucking cops were like screaming like to get on the ground, like fucking it was this whole like very dramatic like we were like, what is going on right now? Like I remember Nolan got like tackled. I was like, oh, okay, what the fuck?
Wow.
So then they put us in handcuffs and walked us all the way to the road. Right when we got to the road, my mom drove past in her car. She was like, what the fuck? 12-year-old kid in handcuffs. And so anyways, but they took us back to Nolan's house where we sat with his parents and my parents, and then since we were so young, they released us into the custody of our parents, and then we had to go to court, and I got probation for 6 months or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, so
I'll never forget that. That definitely put a damper on our summer. I think that was the first summer that you and I. That would have been the first summer that we lived in the same neighborhood and lived so close
yeah, it
to
was
one
like
another.
immediately after I moved to Bradshaw, I was arrested.
Yeah. Because I think we were all like amped about the summer, and then you were abruptly sort of out of the picture or out of the not
Yeah, and then the next summer after that, my parents sent me to. Remember, they sent me to where was it? Wyoming to hike over the
yeah,
Rocky Mountains.
what was it called? The No
Knowles.
Longer Bound.
No, Knowles National Outdoor Leadership.
Knowles. Okay.
No Longer Bound's the branch off of what I went to rehab at.
Oh well, I get my rehabs and my life changing camping
Yeah.
trips mixed up.
So, but
No,
yeah,
that's great. I for some reason didn't remember that it was a separate summer that you got sent away. That the summer that you got arrested, Brandon Hales' sister became your like daily babysitter. Yeah.
yeah,
Different show, but Brandon Hales' sister became your baby, like your you're like 9 to 5, I guess, because your parents obviously were working and yada yada. Anyway, I find it interesting that was such an early experience that we had with law enforcement, because for me and some other instances that you may have experienced may echo this. 4 or 5 times between the ages of probably 16 and I don't know 20, just for argument's sake, between 16 and 20. I was probably caught with illegal drugs, whether that be I should say it was probably just marijuana. I probably wasn't getting busted with anything other than marijuana at that time, but I got busted with either partaking in smoking pot or partaking in being in a vehicle, obviously of some kind. I got busted 4 or 5 times between the ages of 16 and 20, and literally got let go and let off the hook every single time without fail. Which I just find amazing, which I find so interesting, because as a 37-year-old guy and all the sort of stuff that I've had going on in my life, the legal ramifications of the dumb shit that I did as a kid have never come back to haunt me, I guess is what I'm saying. I've been very lucky and that I haven't had any legal trouble for all the ridiculous shit, and that probably speaks to a lot about where we grew up, what we look like.
Did they arrest you when you stole the Tahoe and wrecked it into the?
No, dude, no. Nothing happened. I'll never forget. I walked from one side of the neighborhood right to the other side, because the accident happened on one side.
Yeah, you came to my house. You and
yeah. I was walking through your. I think was throwing rocks at the bonus room that had turned into your, anyway, throwing rocks, and you came out there, you're like, what are you doing? I was like, I just wrecked my mom's car. Anyway, no, I got home again, walked from one end of the neighborhood to the other. By the time I got to the house to tell my mom what had happened, the cops were already there, waiting on me, basically. So I'm like walking up the driveway, and the police are like, trying to scare me at this point, telling me they're gonna take me to jail and do all this stuff. And I don't know whether I knew that that was just a scare tactic or not, but nothing ended up happening. Mom, I'll never forget. Mom looked at me and was like, "Go upstairs and go to your room. You're grounded for the rest of the day." So I stole and totaled her brand new Tahoe, and she was like, you can't leave the house
for 18 hours.
Right. And that is just basically the story. I mean, that's so fitting for how my childhood and my growing up was. There was just never any consequences for anything. Ever.
Yeah, I've been, God, so many consequences.
Yeah, no, I
got the other end of that spectrum. I definitely was arrested quite a bit.
Yeah, no, I never had any consequence, and I still, to this day, if I'm being completely honest, I mean, the consequences that I've had, it's that I guess that saying, like, if I got what I deserved kind of thing, if I was to be held responsible for half of the terrible things that I've done to other people, it would probably be a different story.
I remember going. Remember that cabin y'all had up at?
Yeah.
Remember when your mom got that DUI?
No, not really. I can't.
Yeah,
if you keep
got it
while she was up there.
No, we were driving up there, and it was Memorial Day weekend. It was like me, my sister, Ginger Burris, probably fucking.
This was way back then, yeah.
Yeah, it was way back then. And you might have still been with Brittany, and you were coming up later with her or something like that. Like you were.
Ginger was there.
Do you remember it now?
No. I'm saying so Ginger and Brittany were in the picture at the same time.
I don't know if it was Ginger or Brittany,
Okay.
but there was like we were in one of those big SUVs that she had, packed full of us. Like we're going up there to party. I was the only one not drinking, right? And I was riding in the back seat, and fucking I was hammered on Vicodin and ecstasy. Just
then my mom, if there was ecstasy and Vicodin involved, mom was definitely there. Definitely there.
Blasted, right? So, but we get pulled. It's Memorial Day weekend, and we're on like 515, wherever, Ella J or Jasper, wherever that cabin was. I forget where it was, but it was up one of those country roads, like after the highway turns into a country road. She gets pulled over, breathalyzer. She's drunk. She can't fucking drive. Like literally, the cops like, is anyone in here not drinking? And I was like. They breathalyzed me, fucking blow like nothing. Like, and they're like, okay, we need you to drive her car wherever, so we don't have to impound it, but she has to go
Wow.
to jail. And I was like, pupils just like blasted. Like
Wow, dude.
I was like, okay, like this is
Talk about a nod to law enforcement.
yeah, I was like, oh,
Jesus.
this is good, this is good. And my sister was like hammered drunk. She's like, oh my god. I was like, I'm really
You know, the amount of the amount of crazy stories that involve my mother that don't involve me is shocking. It's still it doesn't really ever surprise me. But
Dude, how did she get us into that rave when we were like 15 or 16?
well, I remember going. We're all off topic here, but
Yeah.
I remember going with Ginger downtown with my mom, and my mom and a bunch of people going to raves, and Ginger and I staying at the hotel room while they were at the raves. I don't ever I remember the rave summer and the rave years, but for the
Yeah.
most part, when I would go downtown to Atlanta with mom, it would be with
Well, I was
some
thinking about
shady
that the other
people.
day, like because those raves, like you had to be 18 or older, or some of them were
That's what
21 plus, and I know we were not nowhere near that
that's
age.
what I'm saying. I don't remember ever actually going into. Well, maybe I do, but I don't. I remember more times than going to the rave that we would go downtown to Atlanta. She and her whatever shady people she was hanging out with would go to the raves. I would go to the hotel room, hang out, and then we would meet up after that.
Yeah, she got like it was like me and Allison and like a couple other like it was fucking like just
Yeah, that's
crazy
that's what I
times.
mean. There's a lot of memories of that people come to me with that involve my mom. I'm like,
Well, my question is though, like, how did we get away with that? Like, it seemed like if your mom was there, like we were literally allowed to do
well, I mean,
adult
like
shit like all the time.
if you think of you think about it, you've got a attractive, young looking woman who seemingly has all the money that she could possibly ever need or whatever. And it's what we're talking about right now. It's like we would get away with murder because of who we were with, what we looked like, and you know, just because of our situation. We
We
all
were
got
all a
away
bunch
with
of
murder.
fucking dirty hippies at that point, I think. Like,
We all got away with fucking with murder forever, and some of us still do. I mean, I still deal with the fact that I don't see a terrible amount of consequences for my actions all the time. I mean, it's just
I don't, I don't.
that's well,
Consequence is
good.
consequence.
Well, good shit.
But fucking let's see some other good cop stories. I had 16 fucking Cherokee County Sheriff officers, DFAX agents who
That,
knock down our fucking door, take my kid, and arrest me. That was right when I quit. That's when the first step to getting sober was a couple years ago, which I have those charges pending today. Then that's 4 years ago.
that's incredible.
Thanks to the pandemic. Thanks, COVID.
So, but what's your like? What I guess we could trade war stories, but what I'm interested in is how, and what I think is a big pick with what the idea behind us talking about this, or what I was thinking about when I wanted to come, is when you think of the police, or when you think of law enforcement, when you think of how about this? This is a good question. When you're driving down the road and you look up in your rearview mirror, and I'm not leading you in any way. I'm just a question, conversation starter. When you're driving down the road and you look in your rearview mirror and you see a police officer, a normal beat cop, whatever you call the patrol officers, when you see a cop in your rear view, hasn't turned on his lights, but when you see a cop in your rear view mirror, what's your immediate reaction? How do you respond? Yeah, how do you respond to that?
I literally don't even pay attention to it anymore.
Sure, yeah,
Like at
right,
this point, I'm never doing anything wrong. So I'm like, it doesn't.
right,
It used to be like sweating bullets, like, oh, this is it, another trip to jail, like But like
right.
now, it's like I don't. And plus, I have my brother-in-law is a police officer, and like after getting to know him, like it's completely different when you meet a cop like outside of being a cop,
Yeah,
it's like, wow, this is a person who like literally struggles with all the same shit that I struggle with, you
that's
know. So like,
interesting.
and I think that's like kind of broadened my view on as far as in law enforcement too, because
So you think that knowing having a not a friendship, having an experience with a police officer outside of his capacity as a police officer has changed the way that you
oh
view
yeah,
police
definitely,
officers. Okay, yeah,
yeah, like because they're put in situations obviously that like like it's fucking dangerous shit they do. Like, and when I was a drug addict, well, I am a drug addict, but like when I was an active using drug addict, fucking yeah, like I was always like, cops are out to get me, blah 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 blah. You know, it's like I'm fucking literally breaking the law. That's their job is to enforce a law. You know, so it's not
right.
fucking. And same thing, like when defects took my kid, I was like, these motherfuckers are just fucking. I'm a good parent, but I was like, nah, you're not really a good parent when you're shooting heroin in the fucking same house with your kid. You know, so
Right.
it's definitely like looking back, I'm like, well, yeah, they had every time I got arrested, I deserved to be arrested. Like
Sure. Yeah.
so, but and then in the same coin, like fucking, there's police officers that abuse their powers because like they are just people, just like us, and
Sure.
they have a
Right.
shitty day, and they could fucking fucking fly off the whim, and they have the authority to do that because we've allowed them to have that authority. So it's
Yeah.
you can't like I don't put a lot of faith in people, so. That's
Hmm.
my take on it, But like nowadays, I see cops. I'm like, cool. Maybe I'll get to film something. Maybe they'll fucking world star this motherfucker. Like, but it's
I
not
think
going to
that's
involve me.
I think that's so interesting that your has changed from what it used to be to now. Like, oh look, a cop. Maybe he's gonna do something stupid. Like that's I
Yeah,
don't
or like
like
something exciting is going to happen,
yeah.
Because like nowadays, before it was like I'm going to be that exciting thing that's
Mhm.
going to end up in like the longest I ever spent in jail was 6 months, and that was fucking horrible.
Yeah.
So fucking, I get it. Like, and going to jail is like the last thing you want to do. So I understand why people do stupid fucking shit to get out of going to jail. High speed
Yeah.
chases, all that shit. Like I get it. Like I see the human nature around all of it, but I
Is
don't think
is
cops are bad because they're fucking doing what they've been trained and what the public has hired them to do.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. I think that one of the dumbest, one of the most one of the most polarizing conversations I've ever had with anybody was a guy who was trying to convince me of the fact that not only are all cops bad people, there is no such thing as a good cop, and that if you are a police officer in any capacity, that you are by nature a bad person. And I don't agree with that, and I don't think that it's very easy to arrive at that you know idea. I think that whatever that person went through, that if that person really believes that, and who am I to question whether that person truly believes that, but whatever that person had to go through to arrive at that idea, I can't imagine, because the experiences that I've had with law enforcement directly shape how I view police officers, and I guess it should be a mixture of my experiences and also the fact that that everybody, things are different, and this, that, and the other. But I just, having a conversation with someone who's trying to convince me that all cops are bad people was very like shocking to me.
That conversation could have been with me 5 years ago.
Well,
Because
yeah, right,
before, like
sure,
that's like literally how I thought. I was like, anyone that has to hide behind a gun and a badge to be a man,
right,
blah blah blah, and
right,
fuck that. Because I've had my fucking skull cracked open by a cop. I've been fucking like harassed, slammed on the ground, like, but they're like literally like, and that's all because of my drug use.
right,
Because that's the problem. The problem isn't the police officers. It's like their main concern is drug control because we have a drug war going on. So they're literally enforcing these laws that make no sense.
hmm,
So it's like it's not like, and then to blame the police is like they're just doing literally what they've been trained to do. Like
yeah,
there's whole like literally whole sections of law enforcement for just narcotics. You know what I mean?
Right.
for just people like me that were fucking doing, selling, and fucking, distributing fucking narcotics. So it's like,
Mm.
I'm like, and I'm supposed to be surprised that these people have a bias against me. Like,
Right.
and like I said, 5 years ago, I'd be like, these motherfuckers,
Right.
they want to get me. It's like, well, literally, yeah, they are, because in their view and what they've been taught, like, drugs are what's causing this huge cancer in fucking America. When that's not
Well,
the
I
case at
think it's
all.
also, as far as the drug trade go, it's also something tangible that a cop can hold on to, right? It's
Drugs, guns, and money.
at
Yeah.
the end of the day, I can take a picture and say, "Hey, look, I fucking took this off the street." And again, whether it's guns, drugs, whatever it is, having something tangible, fighting a war where you can grab something tangible, take it off the street, and burn it and move on, versus saying, "Okay, I'm fighting racism, or I'm fighting."
I'm fighting being.
Do that. Um, but I don't. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
I can see you. I can hear you.
Sorry.
No, yeah, it's totally. But then also, like, if we didn't have all those laws in place, all those jobs for those police officers, wouldn't it fucking be necessary? So,
Oh yeah, I think it's I don't think it's necessarily. I think that the issues that I see surrounding law enforcement in America today kind of just stem from it being too easy to be a cop. Maybe that's like, if someone were to say, what's a real problem that you see, if that you think is affecting, and who's that? No one's asking me that. Like, it's not a think tank, but in my mind, when I'm like, okay, when I see, because I do think that there's a very, very big disparity between the public and the people that are supposed to protect the public. We are literally, like, if you think about it this way, think about this idea. We are literally changing so much, like, as a society, and like our mentality is changing so much that we are now changing the way we want people to police us. Like, we are taking what, cops are no longer being trained to police people the same way. We are like, police like have to tiptoe around people in order to protect them, and that's fucking weird. When I think about it that when I think about the fact that, like, there are police that, because they're supposed to protect us, but most people, the relationship between the public and the police is just fucked. I mean, it's monumentally fucked, and I don't know, um, why that is, per
well,
se. I
it's
mean,
because of the system that we set up. Like, I don't like, and let me just be very clear on this. I don't agree with this structure of society as it is.
mm,
Like, I don't. Like, I think it's like, I think as a species of fucking animals, we could be doing a lot better things with our time than fucking buying material shit and fucking all that. Like, it's
oh,
fucking.
yeah, I see what you're
It
saying.
seems
Yeah,
like if we were one giant consciousness working towards a greater good for the planet, universal fucking well-being, you know what I mean? Like, fucking, we could accomplish a lot more if we weren't so worried about these things. How
yeah,
police treat us. We need people to fucking police us because we're so fucking stupid.
yeah, yeah,
Like, fucking,
yeah.
we
That's a
literally
but
need people with badges and guns because we can't control ourselves. It's just
yeah,
like that, and that
that's
all
an
comes from
odd.
a fucking governmental. Like, we need to be governed. Like, why can we not all, as a fucking human race, be like, let's just work together and fucking try to be better people? And that, but it doesn't. I mean, I've never seen any situation where that actually works out. But
No, I think that's fascinating. Yeah, it's like it's our own fucking fault, though, right? Like, I'm sitting here sort of trying to wrap my mind around why we can't all just get along, like that whole fucking.
well, it's
And
greed, it's money, it's
that's
power.
what that's where I keep going to, like, well,
Someone's always got to be the big
our
dog.
it's our own fault.
Yeah.
We have this thing where we have a lot of stuff that we complain about every day. I complain about every day that we do to ourselves, and and I think that that's one of those things.
You do it to yourself.
We it's it's one of the biggest things I hear people complain about is media, right? The mainstream media is the conversation, is the topic of so many conversations you have on the political left and on the right and the middle, blah, blah. You're constantly hearing people talking about the mainstream media, right? Can't trust the mainstream media. The mainstream media is doing this. The mainstream media, ABC, NBC, CBC, all these places are putting out what we want to watch,
Yeah.
right? They're based on ratings. So for me, for someone to sit and say, oh, the mainstream media is shoving this stuff down our throat and giving us all blah, 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 it's like they're giving us what they know we want to watch. So we're complaining about a system that we're perpetuating, and you know, and
Well, I
that can,
think it's interesting how you said that though. Like, this is what we want to watch, right? No, it's like this is what we've learned to want to watch.
sure, yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean?
right.
Like, had like that not been an option at all to begin with, like we wouldn't have evolved into these creatures that like socially need to be accepted, socially, like all these things, rather than I think if people weren't told like you're an individual and be yourself and blah blah blah, instead we're taught like we are a group that needs to work together, then people's
Hmm.
completely like the whole attitude would change as far as like I'm doing this so I get a raise, so my family does better, so this happens, like it changes the cycle as like as a group of people we like continue to grow as you know a human race. It's not
Yeah, well, it's
that's like literally it's mind blowing, but it's never been like that ever since the
no,
beginning of
that's
time. Fucking the first fucking caveman was like, I'm gonna beat your skull with this fucking rock because this is my fucking cave.
yeah,
Like,
that's true. That's and that's so funny you say that. That's the that individuality and that like that that sense of unique importance that is like that we've I don't know where it comes from, but it's so interesting how it's become a school of thought, right? Like to what you're talking about, that sense of community and that it takes a village type of thinking is a far cry from where I as a layperson sees society as a whole. Like what you're talking about, a lot of people label as and I make things political. You know, I say that thing, I see things, I make them political. But what you're talking about, in my mind, is what borders on, you know, socialistic and socialistic ideas, which I am all for. But we live in a society where we're told that the individuality of us and that we need to at all times be pronouncing our uniqueness and letting everybody know that I am one and I am strong and I do not need that. We put such an importance on being unique, you know, and being uh doing things without the help of anyone um and somewhere in the middle of that is some kind of balance of both of those things. And I mean I don't know where that balance is, but
well, I
um
think it's interesting too, and like as you're saying that, I'm sitting here thinking like it's interesting how that like, and once again going back in history because I like thinking about like how this has like literally been like so back when everything was like a religious thing rather than a political thing, right?
right,
Fucking those things like that we're talking about were considered sins or whatever it was, like selfishness, pride, greed, ego,
right,
like fucking all these things, right? But nowadays, like literally, those are the things that like the world wants you to concentrate on. Like, how many
yeah,
likes did you get?
sure,
Like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, it's become like it's strange, but it's like the powers that be, not like you know God powers, but like the skulls or the people that control the strings, like the human
sure,
beings, right?
yeah,
They like focused in on those like and I don't know if they did it on purpose or not, but they're like this is what people like will really sink their teeth into. Like when they created the algorithms for fucking social media.
mm,
They're like, okay, like if you make someone feel better about themselves rather than you know what I mean? Like it's like
yeah,
they
yeah, yeah,
concentrate on those things. Like we can get people to eat nonstop. We can get people to fucking work their asses off so they get material shit or fucking like be so involved with like their own like how people vanity.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
like they
vanity, yeah,
concentrated on those things and like just honed in on them. And people
yeah,
ate it up, like ate it up. I don't like, and I don't know if there's like something behind that or not, but like that, like you said, like you see things as political. I see things kind of more in a spiritual way. Like
yeah.
I think that like that's like what makes the world sick, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that what we're talking about is we're kind of talking about the same thing. We're just through a different lens. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I I immediately I don't say I immediately I naturally sort of take things into that political realm. But what you're saying is kind of exactly what I mean to say, just through a different lens. But yeah, I don't know where along the line. Well, I don't know where we got so concerned with ourselves. Like I'm not sure. You know, that greed.
Well, it's
Um,
fucking, it's the media, like you said, like it's what we see constantly. Only you can prevent forest fires. Even in the
right,
positive sense, it's a you thing. Like fucking the army, we want you. Like it's
yeah,
not like it's never been like us. It's always been
right,
fucking the individual. What's the most scariest terrorism? The lone wolf, the
right,
one guy. You know,
right,
and even in the Bible, dude, it says fucking like one person can change all of this, and that's
right.
only gonna, and because once again, like you fucking, it's all like
Yeah,
self-centered.
that's
It's never
interesting.
been consciously like a group.
Yeah, that's interesting. I haven't ever really kind of thought of it in that way, of it um, being framed in that way. I haven't ever really
Just
thought of it
weird.
like that.
Just something I thought about.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think that it's also hold on a second.
He's doing coke. Don't lie to me.
Yeah.
I'm back.
Sorry. Probably do look like I was doing cocaine.
Back
Anyway,
with white powder all over your face.
I swear to God. No, but I just think that, you know, as far as like gun control and police officers and all that stuff, I don't know. I think about in terms of like gun control and stuff. Like I have little notes and stuff that I write down to talk about. Like I wrote down like how do we look how do we ask people to not carry firearms around when stuff like Uvalde happens? And I'm asking
Wait,
myself that.
stuff like what?
Uvalde, the Texas, the school shooting that just happened.
Oh,
It was in
with all like the elementary one.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
and I'm asking myself
What are you asking yourself, Chris? What's the question? What are you asking? We need to know.
this. I'm
Oh
not because I do agree with the Second Amendment, and I think that people should be allowed to arm themselves. But I also think that it's kind of past the time of something that needs to be done. Like
God.
there needs to be legislation put forward. I don't know what it looks like. I'm not a fucking politician, but
The
um,
Second Amendment, you gotta think, was written in a time when like
right,
war was like constant. Like, yeah, okay,
right,
but that's never changed. There's always gonna, what was it? Aristotle said there's always gonna be an east and a west and someone in between fighting. Like
sure,
no matter what,
yeah,
it's human nature. Violence is fucking part of whatever, you know. And
yeah.
but that's what I'm saying. So as long as it is fucking, if you could take people's guns away, it's like prohibition, man. Like they're gonna fucking find another way to get guns. It's not like
Yeah, no, that well, see, and I agree with that. What I where I start to question myself is because I do think that people should be allowed to arm themselves, but I also think that it's way past the time to there needs to be some sort of legislative action. I don't know if that means banning firearms or if that means banning bump stocks or if it means banning this, that, and I don't know what the legislation looks like, but I do know that when I talk to people that are on the right, when I talk to Republicans or conservative people, I'm not kidding you. Every single time it ends with them looking at me and being like, well, that's just kind of what's going to happen. I don't agree with that anymore. I understand I understand the argument that you can't legislate evil and that you know the evil people are going to commit evil. I'm not ignorant to those philosophical fucking ideas. I understand that, but I also think that it's time to do something. So
but see, when people blame, that's my thing. Like when people blame it on an evil person, on this
mhm,
fucking this guy, like I mean, you've got to think that that person was brought into the world the same way fucking all of us have gotten there.
yeah,
It's not. It's the things that the situations he has seen, the evolution that he had in his life that turned him into that person.
Mhm.
It's the nature versus nurture situation.
Yeah, yeah.
If people were taken care of in all these situations, there would not be mass shootings.
And see, and I agree with what you're saying.
I'm
I
not
think
saying people should have fucking assault rifles that blast
no,
off
no. What
80
you're saying,
fucking rounds a minute.
what I think you're saying is spot on. Is that it's part of a much bigger issue.
Exactly.
What, and I agree. What I'm saying is that I think about it like this, right? If you're think about it like this, if you're bleeding out your eyes, if you come to the doctor and you go, I'm bleeding out my fucking eyes, and the doctor says, well, let's talk about it. Let's figure out what it could be from. He's going to try to stop the bleeding first. He's going to stop you bleeding out your eyes, and then he's going to try and figure out what is actually making your eyeballs fucking bleed. So I understand the fact that it's just it could possibly be just a band-aid, that a ban on assault rifles is not going to solve this problem. I don't think it is. I don't, but if it solves 5% of it, or if it stops 500, if it stops 5 people, maybe we should think about it. I don't, again, I don't, I feel like the idea that it's just going to happen and that we can't stop it, and that, but I'm so fucking sick of hearing that. I think that it's time to do something, you know.
Yeah, so, and my takes, and we are going to talk about the guns thing. Like, people should have guns as far as like for hunting
Yep.
and those purposes only. Like, literally, if you can't kill an animal with a scope at 300 yards and a fucking, whatever milligram fucking grain bullet, you don't need 80 fucking rounds of ammunition to take out a fucking deer. It doesn't make sense. Now, like, if you're talking about you want to have an assault rifle in case your government fucking tries to overthrow you or make you a fucking slave because they have assault rifles, that's a whole other conversation. But
I understand.
You can't just say the public can't have assault rifles. You can say assault rifles are illegal. That means police can't fucking carry them either. Because like nobody should be allowed to mow down anybody in any situation.
Yeah, I don't think that there's my perspective on firearms comes from a self-defense point of view, right? That's just where my head goes. I cannot think of a situation where I would need to mow someone down with an assault rifle.
Except for in zombie apocalypse, which it doesn't, if zombie apocalypse happens, we might as well just go.
My thing is that I had a conversation with a guy the other day who tried to tell me that we started talking about assault rifles and about why civilians may or may not need them. And this guy had the audacity to tell me that the reason why that no one ever put boots on US soil during Vietnam or during the Korean War, that the reason why they never put boots on the ground was because they were scared of American civilians that had guns. And I disagreed with him. I don't think that's why that no one's ever put boots on the ground in America, because they're scared that civilians have I think that's insane. But that's another point that you hear people say all the time, is that I need an AK-47 in case my government comes for me. Bruh, if the government comes for you, you're not going to know they're coming, and it won't be an interaction. You'll just be done. Like there's not going to come to knock on your front door.
They'll just drone strike you at this point.
There's nothing that a civilian is going to do. You're not going to pack up, you and your buddies are not going to pack up all your weapons. It doesn't. So I think conversation.
And on the other side of that, I totally get that mind frame. I do too. I have assault rifles. Like I have handguns, assault rifles, hunting rifles, shotguns, fucking. I have all those guns. One, it's fun as shit to go out and fucking shoot cans and fucking, whatever. It's also dangerous as fuck. So is skydiving. So is all these things. But like, if you don't fucking help mental health and then fucking still make it very easy, like literally very easy to buy an assault rifle.
I'll just say this.
Those things don't.
I'll just say this. The kid that shot up the school, that shot up the elementary school, forgive me, but did he not buy that weapon both of those weapons within 24 hours of that shooting? So that's fucking insane.
There's gun shows here in Alabama where literally all you have to do is walk in with an ID. You don't even have to register the gun. Go in, buy as many assault rifle, handguns, extra clips, and just walk out.
That's fucking asinine.
They do this in a coliseum. Right. In a stadium where you would see a concert, they have gun vendors everywhere.
Yeah. That's
Like,
that anyone who tells me that that's the way that things are supposed, like, I don't, where's your argument for that? Like, and I don't even want to, like, that's,
I mean, it is the way it's literally the way shit's set up right now.
yeah,
How they would
yeah.
change
And
that, I have
that's,
no idea.
I
But
don't
I'm
either.
just
I
saying,
don't
like,
either. But I also, like I said, I just use the analogy of being in a car accident, or like you have to put a band-aid on the shit first. And I understand that it is absolutely
just the wound.
it's a bigger, it's a part of a much bigger picture, and so I can respect that.
Yeah.
I just
Like I said,
my
if they said assault rifles were banned, like I have no problem not owning a fucking AK-47 with a fucking banana clip.
right,
I don't like it. Literally just sits in a closet at this point.
right.
It's like what's the saying?
But
Like
the
it's like
thing
a
is,
condom. It's nice to have it in case you need it, but if you don't
but
have it,
the
you need it. But that's
what
me.
happened,
That's a
but
total different situation with mental health.
my question to you, friend of 25 years, is what happens, like what happens, someone breaks in your fucking house, and again, there's all kinds of, I think it's hard. I here's the deal. I don't know if I support civilians owning guns like AR-15s and AK-47s. I don't know if I support that or I'm against it. I don't know, but I just, it's difficult. I'll say this: the reason why I wanted to talk about law enforcement was because of this, and it goes back to January 6th again. But my whole reason for like following any of this stuff or being interested in any of this stuff, this is why. During the summer of 2020, we watched the Black Lives Matter protesters from city to city, you know, looting, rioting, all the National Guard being brought in. You know, you saw people lose their lives. You saw you saw peaceful protesters get assaulted. You saw violent protesters get assaulted. There were cases that happened, yada yada. There was all this turmoil and all this insane fighting going on in all these different cities all over the country, right? And then and all of those people had a similar look, right? Like if we're being honest with each other, all of those people all those protesters had a similar vibe, right? Or a similar
You
message.
talking about profiling?
No, I'm just talking about just the protests that we saw happen during the summer of 2020. All the Black Lives Matter protests, all that action and all that turmoil you saw. And then on January 6th, you saw a bunch of people that were protesting all of that, right? The people that were against all those Black Lives Matters protesters, the people that were protesting the protesters, went and committed one of the most violent acts against law enforcement that I've ever seen. I mean, I watched people that were protesting the Black Lives Matter protests, that were standing there with police officers all summer long with American flags, beating police officers in the face with American flags on January 6th. And our response to that was literally nothing. There was no National Guard sent. I mean, we were letting these people come into the Capitol and do this.
Yeah.
So
that's exactly it, man. Like that, we as a people, we are fucking sick. Like
that's
black, Mexican,
right.
fucking race I don't even know about that in Zimbabwe on an island. We're fucking like we are like not okay. Like there,
that's that tribalism. It's tribalism, and so that's why I'm so interested in like the landscape of the proverbial hour of our relationship with law enforcement, because you know, if you have one set of ideals and you look like one set of people, you can pretty much do whatever the fuck you want. If you look like the other person, you can't even go peacefully protest something. So it was shocking to see.
It was shocking to see a giant cock this big. It was massive cock.
Those fit. Now you're fucking frozen. So that was it.
No, I get it, man. Like, and you're absolutely right. Like, it's fucking something way deeper than fucking.
Yeah,
people are fucking fucked in the head.
Yeah, it's
and
scary.
I have those same like, and it's subconscious. Like, subconscious is fucking crazy. Like before I even have a real thought about something, I will make a assumption and judge something and fucking be like, that's the way it is.
Absolutely,
that's the way I'm thinking, and it's should be so far removed from the truth. Like
You
it's
know what? Okay, I'm 37 years old. You want to know the most prolific thing the most prolific ideal that I've had in 37 years is this right here. And this has been in the past 6 months or a year that I've realized this, right? Is try to articulate this as best as I can. Just because I believe something, right? Just because I believe A, B, and C does not mean that I want to or need to be around other people that only believe that A, B, and C. Just because I have a belief doesn't mean that I think that the rest of the world should have to succumb to those beliefs. Perfect example, abortion. I would not be a part of an abortion. My wife and I have 2 children. We would not have an abortion. But that being said, I think that you should have the freedom to have an abortion if that's what you choose to do. And the idea that you can have a belief and believe in something, but also believe in everyone else's freedom to not believe that is not something that I think a lot of people can comprehend. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
I just want like confetti to start like falling down behind you. You
No,
figured
but I'm
it out.
serious. Do you
No, I'm
understand?
dead serious. That's exactly it. Just because you believe or think some sort of way, but also to be open to hear someone else's beliefs
Right.
and not push your shit on somebody, like that should be the beginning of a thought process.
And that is
But it's not.
so
People are
not
fucking so
right.
grounded, locked in their own
Right.
way, and this is the way because I believe it's this way. That means
Right.
everyone else needs to think that way, and it's never. I mean, it's never been like that, and I struggle with it. Fuck yeah, but that's in my core. That's what I would like for my kids to be raised into.
Well, it's funny you say that because I think the only my cousin and I had this exact talk, and we said that the only place that that doesn't apply is kind of with your children. The kids that I'm raising in the I'm molding those kids to be good people in the way that I see them fit. Now, my
Yeah,
neighbors and the people that live across the street and the people that live upstairs, that's one thing. But when we're talking about our children, yes, I have values that I'm trying to instill in my children. I want my children to be, certain people. But yes, when it comes to everybody else, like I enjoy the fact that I have these neighbors or this, I enjoy that I live in a place where not everybody shares my views
mm,
is kind of and I think that you and I kind of grew up in a place where everybody looked the same. The thought process of everybody was the same. It was very it was not a very diverse environment. And so I'm glad that I now am able to kind of raise my kids in an area that's a little bit more vibrant, if you will.
vibrant.
So
Hell yeah. Well, I like yeah, and but at the same in the same side of that, like fucking it's a generational thing. Like the things that
sure.
my grandfather taught his dad, he taught me like that. Like literally, like I don't even believe him, but still in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh man, like
Right. That's powerful, dude. You realize how
it
fucking
fucking.
powerful that is?
So yeah, exactly. So the things I'm teaching my kid, like I don't know if like necessarily just because it's the way I believe. I want my kid to think for himself, like all that shit.
Sure.
But at the same time, as being a parent, you're like, fuck, I like you barely know what's going on. Like,
Yeah,
look,
right.
your kid
It's
doesn't
like
know
it's
fucking what's
almost it's
going
almost it's
on.
almost like there are not a whole lot. Like I'll say this, and because we got almost done, but I'll say this: it's like there's not a whole lot of absolute truths in the world. There's just not. For me to say that this is true and this is always absolute. There's not a lot of that. Like there's maybe a few things that you would want to teach your kids that are not on the fence. Be kind to everyone is one of those. Like don't and until someone gives you reason to not whatever, just be kind. So that I mean there's certain things that are sort of absolute, but it's like you see a lot of people walking around thinking that they've got it all figured out, and I would hate to be walking around thinking that I was that I had something that somebody else didn't.
Well, it's fucking into it with the Dave Matthews lyric. Fucking, if I had it all, what would I go on for?
Good song. Great
I mean,
song.
fucking, seriously, like if you had it all figured out, there's like the possibility of knowing or growing is non-existent. So.
Yeah. Like
But yeah,
how's
with
the
my kids, dude, I literally the only thing I want like them, if there's one absolute I can teach my kids, it'd be like treat other people like you want to be treated.
Yeah,
Like you
sure.
don't want to be cut off. You don't want them to fucking like just fucking that's all it is. Like fucking treat someone else like you're treating yourself.
Yeah.
Like yourself, be good to other people. Like that's it.
Touche.
No,
Touche.
that's it. I have a scenario, but we're running out of time. So you want to wait till next week when we have Dylan on, or you want to bust?
Let's wait because I
I
actually do
got a
have to
fire
do it.
scenario though.
All
Fire.
right. Well, I look forward to it. Then maybe what we should do since Dylan wasn't here, maybe we all three get on a call and just do the scenario just as like as a smoothie.
Smoothie, the old
Yeah.
smooth. Okay, yeah, we'll do that.
All right.
All right, man. I love you,
All right,
bud.
buddy. Love you too, man. Take care. Bye
Bye.
bye.